Hey, kitties. It's time for uh werewolf reviewing comics. Named Kevin. We're gonna review some horror comics. I know Halloween's over, but it's 365 days a year in this household, so we're gonna do some werewolf comic reviews with some horror comics, maybe some other comics later on down the road. But for now, we're doing some horror comics. I didn't get to them before Halloween, so I'm making up for it now. So the month of November and December, we're gonna probably have a bunch of horror comics to talk about. So I figured it's a fun way to do it, and we're gonna start out with Leonide the Vampyr Miracle at the Crow's Head. This is from Dark Horse Comics. It's a one shot by Mike Mignola, Rochelle Aragno, and Dave Stewart. I last month ordered another Leonide the Vampyr one shot, which I thought was the same thing. But I'm thinking the Miracle at Crow's Head is a different story for the character. So hopefully it wasn't like a second print or something like that. But we get to meet our character starting out with small coastal village is home to normal people living quiet and simple lives until a shipwreck brings a small coffin and its smaller occupant into their midst. What begins as a miracle soon takes a turn towards the horrible in this ghostly tale from celebrated Hellboy creator Mike Mignola and artist extraordinaire Rochelle Aragno. The first issue of a new series of stories, Leonide the Vampyr, is shiveringly spectacular. So yeah, it looks like they're going to do a variety of one shots, which I'm totally happy with. I'd rather have one shots than a bunch of ongoing longer runs. Just I like the short stories more, but this is a interesting character where we meet their coffin, their tiny little coffin. But it's like when you see these two characters carrying it, it is a smaller coffin. But then later on, we have three people carrying it. It's like it's almost like the coffin grew a little bit here. We get to meet our interesting little Leonide the Vampyr character for the first time for me. I don't think I've read anything about this character before, but she makes her presence. They celebrate. They assume that basically there was a shipwreck. They lost lots of other people, and this is the only item that was left was a coffin. And surprisingly, the coffin's owner is alive and inside the coffin, and you don't really see the people like freaking out or nothing like that. It's like everything's all good around here, but our coffin tends to change size a lot in this storyline. But yeah, it was a fun invitation into this character. She she's definitely got that Hellboy Mike Mignola feel to the storyline. It's like she can collect spirits. I suppose that is also a different coffin because that's the coffin that she uses to collect the little spirits. And you see in the cover, we got these little bees that are like the people's souls. from the people that she collects them from. But yeah, I or he did. I suppose this. I say it's a girl, but the name I feel is a guy's name, but I'm not really sure. But it's interesting, especially when you see a child come out of a coffin and everybody doesn't freak out from a shipwreck. Uh, yeah, that was an enjoyable story from Dark Horse Comics, one shot. And like I said, I just ordered another one in last month's previews. So we have some more fun coming from that. Then we got Night of the Living Dead, Day of the Undead trade paperback. It doesn't have a volume one or anything on it, so I'm assuming this is just a one issue item. Also, the Zombie Saga fans have long demanded, hungry for the flesh of the living. We heard the eyewitness accounts and were shocked by the television news reports. But now we will experience the horrifying events which surround the original Night of the Living Dead. A strange mist brings the unburied dead back to life, hungry for the flesh of the living. There is nowhere safe to run, and no one could possibly prepare for the onslaught of the ghouls, thirsting for human blood. These stories give new insight into many of the film's characters and locations, including the infamous zombie girl Karen. Don't miss the Ultimate Zombie Sampler graphic novel for only $2.99. This book contains 3 self-contained stories from horror master Mike Wolfer, one from each of the first 3 Night of the Living Dead collections. A perfect companion to Avatar's ongoing Night of the Living Dead Aftermath series. And yeah, I when I got this, I was thinking it was going to be a little bit of prequel to the original Night of the Living Dead movie and some the other stories kind of playing off that and giving us a little more of the movie, the black and white movie from back in the day. This is let's see. Actually, does this well that one says volume 3, so they do have a volume 1, 2 and 3 of the Night of the Living Dead series. And it's the most terrifying night in American history was only the beginning, and that was the movie that they're talking about there. The original black and white movie that many of us have seen and loved. The year is 1968, and though the risen dead ravaged the eastern seaboard a year earlier, 2,000 miles of distance brings comfort to some carefree weekend warriors. But the pristine white sands will soon run red as a secret even more gut wrenching than flesh eating ghouls comes to light, collecting the entire Death Valley story arc by horror comic legend Mike Wolfer. An added bonus story set in the Louisiana Bayou, where the psychological threat of the coming undead pits the survivors against each other in a gruesome and terrible fight to the end. Fight to the But in this one, we get chapter 1. We get 3 little stories in here, which is nice. I always like the little compilations of short stories. Uh, First story is Just a Girl. This gives us, if you've seen the original movie, I wanted to rewatch it before I did this, but we have a sick little girl in the basement of the movie, and This gives us a backstory, and we get to find out more about this sick girl that was in the basement named Karen, and it gets us a deep story of her miserable life. She starts out in the orphanage lifestyle, and then it graduates into a home, and you have to read the story to find out what kind of home life she had and how she ended up in the basement of the house in the from the original movie, and why she was sick, what happened to her, and this gives you that prequel story, that whole synopsis, and it was a nice little touch on everything to give us meaning to everything that happened, and that's why I definitely wanted to rewatch the movie, but I just didn't have it easily accessible at the time, so I didn't get a chance to rewatch it. Uh, it'd be nice if Svengoolie tonight would have it on, but I'm not sure. We happen to know what the new Svengoolie movie is tonight? We're gonna try and find out what tonight's Svengoolie is. And then we get into a racial story, which, and don't care for those. Don't care getting back into that type of era and just all the hillbillies hate mongering type storylines, but this is a good story. Uh, gives you a lot of good, interesting things happen to some horrible people along the way. I'm trying to find even something that I could give you from this, but you're dealing with a bunch of hillbillies in the bayou and zombies everywhere, and there is nudity in these, and it's just hard to find a good clean picture. I'm just gonna show. No, I can't show that either. Well, I suppose I can show. My videos aren't. Uh, Call it family friendly. Anybody can watch them, but you get like the zombies and everything. It's just artwork's very well done. And then these stories I kind of have. Well, you go from the bayou redneck racial story, and before that we had the prequel to the original Night of the Living Dead, and then our third story takes us into a group of friends that happen to go to a person's cabin in the woods or in a winter atmosphere where they just so we find out what Svengoolie we get to Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. That's not Svengoolie. They have Abbott and Costello. Oh no, it's the Three Stooges. They're on before Svengoolie all the time, but Meet Frankenstein. Yeah, they meet Frankenstein, so it is a horror movie. So yeah, but we've seen it many times. Uh, yeah, we get into the winter wonderland cabin with a group of friends that just so happen to be stuck in a blizzard, and a woman and her husband are going through some sketchy issues along the way, and you gotta read this story to see what happens between all them. But of course, like the other two stories, they all end up with something to do with zombies. So, but yeah, this is a nice way to get three different storylines coming from the Night of the Living Dead run, which they have quite a few issues and reprints, and they did many different type of cover runs and stuff like that. So I sadly didn't know that and thought I was getting a bunch of different stories and ended up with getting a bunch of stories over and over, but at least they're in different layouts and stuff. So, but yeah, for this being a, I didn't realize it was $2.99. Yeah, $2.99 comic, and got some spinal bend there, but I mean for $2.99, it's a nice thick comic with three decent full length stories in them, and yeah, it was a lot of fun by Mike Wolford, John Russo, Edison George, and Avatar Press or whatever is the yeah Avatar Press is who did the printing of this, but and also in here you do get after one of the stories you get a nice written story about some things happening along the way and kind of helps you get caught up on some things that are happening. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. Night of the Living Dead. Check it out. Next up, this is wonderful. Bruce Campbell. Anything he puts his hands on is gonna be enjoyable. But we got Sgt Rock versus the Army of the Dead from DC Horror line. We got Bruce Campbell, Eduardo Riso, and Christian Rossi. This is number 1 of 6. Each issue so far, I believe, came out with 2 or 3 covers. And one cover usually has kind of like that sign you up for going to war type covers. I want you type things. Fun little parody style covers that they've done. But if you watch my earlier videos of some old comics I picked up a while back, they had a bunch of Sergeant Rock comics that we'll be reading pretty soon. I think we'll bring those into the Werewolf of Comics review sections of our show when we do some more horror comics. But yeah, we get the patrol, the gang, the crew, the military group of characters, and again, wonderful artwork throughout this. We just basically find out that, some Hitler based beings. It's the Mind Fuhrer looks kind of zombified himself a little bit here, but we're not fully sure on that. But they have some type of serum that they're bringing the dead back to life, and they're also making some hulking, big, bulky uh, creatures that the Nazis are controlling. That if they send a bunch of those out, they're gonna have a lot of trouble ahead of them because they are still learning how to. There's a little facial shot of remember hulking zombies, but our gang in this first issue is still learning that what they're dealing with is a form of something undead brought back from the dead, and they don't have the full-fledged knowledge yet to just shoot the damn things in the head to take them out. So you're gonna lose some characters along the way, and our Nazi crew are making some other interesting zombie-ish type characters that we're going to see in the future, I believe, in these comics. But yeah, Bruce Campbell doing a wonderful job. I only seen the first issue so far, but loved it. Couldn't put it down. Had to read this whole thing out. It's a quick read, uh, this first issue, so hopefully they'll get a little bit more detailed in the future, storyline wise. But as far as the art wise and stuff, great job. I like it. And then we got a Trick or Read free comic for ages 13 plus. This is how they did the free comics this year, was the Trick or Read style, whereas I believe the last few years were Halloween Fest or something like that, or the free comic layouts for Halloween. It's like, I believe they had at least maybe 6, 8 different comics this year. I only got my hands on a couple of them so far, but this one was Star Wars Dr. Aphra. I've heard stuff about this character. Know nothing about her. Wanted to read something. Now I finally got something that gave me a great little preview. And these four characters. Well, these three here, I don't know much of anything about. This gal's got some interesting powers to her. And Dark Chrysanthemum, I love that character. I like that he's teamed up with Dr. Aphra. I'm interested. They talk about in the back of this here. Uh, I remember reading about it. Now I'm not seeing it. Okay, there it is. They have a Star Wars Dr. Aphra Volume 1. I don't want to give away the end of this book, but Volume 1, Fortune and Fate. So I'm going to pick that one up. It says it's on sale now, so I'm going to have to look, see if it's out there. I didn't see it in any shop at the shops today, but I want to get my hands on that, and this is basically a teaser to that because that cover is the same cover as this. So this was enjoyable. I mean, she's out scavenging, finds some stuff, has some problems when they're out and about with their ships and trying to get off planets and stuff like that. And they run into some new people that have some interesting artifacts that might have a curse on them that they want to go and find. And they talk her into joining up with them. And it's just wonderful artwork, as usual, with all the Star Wars comics. And yeah, I want to know more about this. And this one's a little spooky style, cursed item hunt. So I think we can read that on the Werewolf of Comics reviews in the future. So hopefully you like some of those. Maybe you get one or two or all of them for yourself and enjoy them. And we will be back with more reviews of some horror comics in the future from a werewolf named Kevin, who may or may not be a spawn of Svengoolie. If only we had some more information on that. Watch for the future. Never know what might be out there. But yeah, that was fun. Hope you enjoyed it today. And we'll get back with more soon. Take care. And check out our other videos and audio podcasts and YouTubes.